Recording in progress.
Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting for the Carpinteria Valley Water District to order. Can we have the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Can we have the roll call, please, Lisa?
Director O'Connor?
Here.
Director Holcomb?
Here.
Director Balch?
Here.
Director Roberts?
Here.
Director Van Wingerden?
Yes.
5 present.
Item number 3, agenda confirmation. Any changes, Kelly?
No changes.
Thank you. Then we got item number 4, public forum. Any person may address the board of directors on any matter within its jurisdiction which is not on the agenda. I got 10 speakers so far. If anybody else wants to speak, then give the slip to Lisa, please, and we'll keep this organized. If there's nobody else on any other item besides item number 6, we'll move on to item number 5. Item number 5, consent agenda. 5A, the minutes for the meeting of the board held on June 24, 2026. Any comments? Then item number 5B, disbursement report for June 11, 2026, July 10th, 2026. Any comments? Then we got item number 5C, annual vendor report for the year 25-26. Any comments? Then we got item number 5D, a director's quarterly compensation report for the fourth quarter. Any comments? Then can we have a motion, please?
Motion to approve the consent agenda as stated.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? And a roll call, please.
Director O'Connor?
Aye.
Director Holcomb?
Yes.
Director Balch?
Aye.
Director Roberts?
Aye.
Director Van Wingerden?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. And I believe we have a public comment for the consent agenda. Oh, is it for the GSA?
That's Scott.
Okay,
for
sorry.
the GSA, yeah. Anyhow, that moves us to item number 6. And so far, I'll open the public hearing. So far, I got about 10 speaker slips. And Lisa, anybody online or not?
Not yet.
Okay, thank you. Then, like to take item number 6 to receive the staff report and recommendations. Kelly?
Yes, thank you, directors. Good evening. I have fielded quite a few phone calls and emails over the last couple weeks, so some of what I'm going to present is in response to the questions I've been getting, but I'll just walk through the presentation. Some of it might be familiar to you from previous discussions. So first I'll talk about the purpose of the hearing and then give some background overview of capital costs, the capital funding received, the adopted annual capital charge, and then the public process for collection of charges through the Santa Barbara County property tax roll. And then we'll hold the hearing for public comment. So again, the purpose of the hearing is regarding collection of the capital charge through the property tax roll. The board has had separate meetings and public hearings regarding the award of the construction contracts. Back in January was when the board awarded the construction contract for the treatment plant and the pipeline. The wells we're requesting bids, but that contract will come to the board for future approval. And then the amount of the capital charge was on June 10th at the water rates hearing previously held. So just a summary of the CAP facilities. This involves an advanced water purification facility located at the Carpinteria Sanitary District, and then construction of a new pipeline to convey purified water up to 2 new injection wells, which will recharge the groundwater basin. The wells were strategically located in this place based on groundwater modeling that showed that our District wells would be the first wells to intercept the water. So why CAP? We have three sources of water currently. We have our local groundwater basin, we have the Kachuma Project surface water, and the State Water Project. And in the last drought period, we saw that our surface water was highly unpredictable and vulnerable. The Lake Kachuma levels declined to 7 to 8% of capacity. We received a zero allocation from the Kachuma project, which was something we'd never seen before. And then state water, which was intended to be our backup water source, was experiencing a statewide drought at the same time. So we received a 5% allocation from the State Water Project at the time when we needed it most. So this put a lot of stress on the groundwater basin. There was increased pumping from the basin to make up for the supply, and our water levels in the groundwater basin reached historic lows, and there was increased vulnerability of seawater intrusion. So that began the planning for CAP, which was, it's been probably a decade or more of planning and design work that's gone into this project, which really is a landmark project for the district, and it's the beginning of a new era of water supply. It's a brand new source for the district that will be available rain or shine for years to come. So the CAP capital costs, this was presented at the January 14th board meeting. The total construction cost is estimated at $73 million. That includes the actual bid prices for the treatment, the purification facility, and the conveyance pipeline. The well drilling, we don't know the actual costs yet. We won't know that until the construction bids come in. This represents what was budgeted. And then the soft costs for planning, design, environmental studies, permitting, and property acquisition was $17 million, bringing the total capital cost to $90 million and $679,000. We wouldn't be able to do this project without support of our funding partners. We have 38% of the project is grant funded, and we're continuing to pursue additional grants this summer. We've already received $34.5 million in grants, and that's from both state and federal funding sources. In addition, the district has secured a state revolving fund loan, which is a low-interest 1.7% loan for 30 years, in the amount of $50 million. And then previously in all the planning and design work, we've spent about $6 million, which brings the total cost to total funding to $90.7 million. The $50 million is the obligation for the future. That's the loan amount that the capital charge is intended to repay. On an annual basis, it's estimated to be about $2.3 million per year for the 30-year period. The capital charges to repay that loan. This is a table of the water rates that were adopted on June 10th. Most of our residential customers, single-family residential, have a 3/4-inch meter. So the annual charge would be $53.91 in the next fiscal year. And then it goes up to $103.86 the next year, $110.80 the next year. And then in 2030, it's estimated to it's projected to reach a level repayment. Those first few years, we're just paying interest as we're drawing down on the loan. And then by 2030 is when it's projected to be the principal payment as well. Most of our agriculture, I will say anyone who has a district water meter will be paying for CAP. We have various types of customer classes. Most of our agricultural customers have a 2-inch meter. So these would be the charges for the agricultural, most of the agricultural customers. This discussion on, so I guess what I would say is the amount of the charge has already been adopted by the board. This hearing tonight is regarding the method of collection. And these discussions have been started back in January of 2025. So there's been over 15 public meetings discussing this issue. Early 2025, the board was doing some initial discussions, providing direction to staff. And I'll just wait till the technical issues are
Can you turn it down?
testing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, so the big meeting was July 9th, 2025. That is the meeting when the board was discussing whether to put the cap charges on the water bill or on the property tax roll. And the decision at that meeting was to move forward with putting the capital charges for cap on the property tax roll and the operational costs for cap on the water bill. So that is the direction that staff moved forward with in developing the water rate study, the cost of service and rate study, which was a several-month process. And then in April, we brought the proposed water rates to the board with the Prop 218 notice, which was mailed to customers regarding the notice of public hearing. So water rates follow Proposition 218 process. We are required to evaluate the cost of service and use a complex financial model to allocate costs to customer classes based on the cost of service and inform water rates. Again, the notices were mailed in April with the amounts to be charged. And on June 10th, the board had a public hearing and adopted the water rates for fiscal years 2027, 2028, and 2029. At that same meeting, the board also adopted a resolution declaring the intent to collect capital charges on the property tax roll. And this really initiated the process that's required for placing charges on the tax roll. It follows California Health and Safety Code Section 5473. And that process requires a report be prepared listing all the APN parcels that will be affected, as well as the charge to be imposed on that property. So staff developed that report. It's been made available at the district office and also posted on our website. It's also included in the board packet for the agenda this evening. In cases where the district cannot place the charge on the property tax roll, the district will direct bill using our billing system. And there are some customers who will receive a direct bill. There's about 309 accounts where either there was not a valid APN or it was a meter that's shared by multiple property owners. And so rather than trying to divide that up, we'll do a direct bill and they can divide it up as they normally would for their typical water bill. So that for FY27, the total annual amount that would come through direct billing was $54,790.61. That's from those 309 accounts. For property taxes through the Santa Barbara County tax roll, the number of parcels that would receive this charge through the tax roll is 3,721. and the total revenue from that would be $355,954.06. So adding those two together brings the grand total to $410,744.67 to fund the capital costs of CAP, which, again, in FY27 really is just the interest rate on the loan. So with that, my recommendation is to conduct the public hearing regarding placement of the capital charge on fiscal year 2026, 2027 Santa Barbara County tax roll. I did, one thing I forgot to mention is I have been in touch with the Carpinteria Sanitary District. They do use the same process with the Health and Safety Code for how they put charges on the property tax roll. So to the extent we could have a similar, try to match what they do or what people are used to in that process, that something would be my intent going forward. But with that, my recommendation is hold the public hearing, and then after hearing public comment, consider the resolution in the packet.
Thank you, Kelly. I got 11 speaker slips. Lisa, anyone online or not? Okay, then if we can keep it around 3 minutes, but that's not a hard 3 minutes, just be respectful of each other. I'll just announce your name. If you can step forward, announce who you are, and then share your thoughts with us, please. So number 1 is John Moore.
John Moore, a resident here in town, and yeah, my comments are very brief. I would prefer to have the charges through the billing and not through my property tax. I guess gut feel on my part, that's a better way to handle the expenses that go with this. And I've never been to one of these meetings, so I'm not sure if I can ask questions, but I was wondering what the operating cost estimate is per parcel for the other half of the expense. Is that available anywhere on the?
It is available. Overall, the operating expense annually is estimated at $2.3 million, which then is divided up among all the customers. For a typical residential customer that uses, let's see, let me pull up my rate notice here. For a typical residential customer that uses 700 cubic feet per month, the charge on the operating expense for CAP on the water bill would be $1 in fiscal year 2027. It'd be roughly $3 in, it'd be $2 in 2028, and then again, $2 in 2029.
Okay, so relatively tiny, yep. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, good. And number 2, Roxanne, Bovitz.
Hi, Roxanne Bowitz. I live in Conchaloma, and I object to the establishment of a new assessment district on our property tax rolls for 2 reasons. My first reason is that the Carpinteria Valley Water is not a public agency, and it is a public agency, and it's not a government body. And they should not be granted permission to add their project charges onto our property tax rolls. Our residents expect our property tax bills to be for government services, not for public agencies' services. And my second reason is that granting a public agency authority to charge their costs to our property taxes would set precedents for other public utility companies to do the same, like Edison or the gas company, and for their system upgrades and their projects as well. So I'm really urging that the current billing standards be used in this case, and that practices to build Carpinteria individually for each resident for their own water usage that should be continued.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We got item, person number 3, Paul Ekstrom.
Good afternoon, directors. I think the capital improvement should be in line with the other capital improvements. I don't think it's fair to put this on the tax roll. It's a service of the water, belongs on the monthly bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Then we got speaker number 4, Peter Spinetta.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I just have some questions to clarify the measure. As I understand it from the letter that we received, this year, only the capital charges would be put on the county tax roll. However, there are other charges that you would be able to put on that you would be authorized to put on the Santa Barbara County tax rolls. I wanted clarification as to what those charges are. Would they be charges for water usage?
No, all charges for water usage are on the water bill. So that, so for example, the operating cost of CAP was a volumetric charge based on water use.
That would be to the property owner.
That's on the water bill. The only
Yes, currently. In the future, though, however, do you reserve right to put it on the property tax roll? The letter said that currently only the capital charges would be put on the property tax roll. However, it specified that there were other charges that you reserved rights to put on the property tax roll. I want to know what those charges are.
I see. Yes, so legally, that was language from our attorney. So not this attorney, but our water rates attorney. Legally, we could put anything on the water bill onto the property tax roll, but all that's being proposed today is the capital charges.
All right. So are you saying that this measure, if it passes, would not authorize anything more than what you are already entitled to do? My concern, quite frankly, is that water usage, it seems to me, should be fall upon those who use the water, not the property owners. But if you put it on the property tax roll, the property owners are going to have to pay for it. Okay? So my concern is that nothing in this would authorize the putting of the water usage obligations on the property owner as opposed to the property user, usually the tenant. Do you have an answer to that?
So what's being proposed today is just the capital charge.
I understand that right now you're simply putting the capital charge on the property owner, not the tenant, although I assume the property owner can pass it on to the tenant over a period of time. But my question is, are you already authorized to put on property water usage on the property roll?
So there is
Or does this measure authorize you now to do that?
the health and safety code authorizes it, but there are procedural requirements that the district has to follow before it can actually be placed on the property tax roll. So this hearing today is part of those procedural requirements. In order to put the usage costs on the property tax roll in the future, we'd have to go through another procedural requirement. So today wouldn't authorize
Which
that.
input could be put in by the public?
Correct.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Kim Spinetta.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to address you. I am Peter's wife. I'm a longtime resident of Santa Barbara County and Carpinteria. I appreciate the efforts to improve the infrastructure of our water systems. I really appreciate that. I've lived here a long time. I understand the issue. I'm very concerned about your seeking to put the charges as an assessment on our property taxes for the CAPS cost. In the future, are you going to have additional requests to put on our property taxes for costs of this project, future projects, water usage, the same issue that my husband addressed? Why are tenants being accepted from this? There's a move afoot to demonize property owners in this country, in this county, in our cities. I worked hard all my life to own property. I'm a responsible property owner. Why do you victimize tenants by saying, oh, well, we're just going to put this on your property tax bill? And tenants, who are the greatest users of water, I would expect, are exempted. I don't appreciate that sort of demonization of property owners that's going on. The city, the county, the school districts, everybody puts charges on my property tax bill every year. What happened to Prop 13? We're not the only people. We're not the only people who should bear the burdens of a good thing that you're doing. Please think long and hard about this. Your decision plays into the demonization of property owners. Make it a user assessment, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker number 6, Giddy White.
Good evening. I'm Geeti White. I don't really have a dog in this fight. I'm here because I was asked to be here and because I believe in transparent government and oversight and accountability. And I think putting it on the property tax rolls will frustrate those things. I also think this is the Water District's first foray into putting anything on the property tax rolls. And I get like you divvied up the cost and you tried to allot it by meter, but this is a complicated situation, and I never saw a benefits analysis where the vast majority of expenses are being put to improve Carpinteria Sanitary District infrastructure. And nobody said these two districts that are working on this project do not have contiguous boundaries. We're effectively creating a property tax assessment district, and we have not allocated the benefits. So maybe if you're not in the sanitary district and you're in the water district, you're all of a sudden entangled with the sanitary district and subsidizing their infrastructure and vulnerable to their liabilities where you never were before. Maybe if you're in the sanitary district and not in the water district, there are people who are in Casitas Water District who are in CSD. You might have different exposure and benefits. Nobody analyzed that. That's not the proper process, and we just don't have the information to go forward. The right way to do this is to do a benefits analysis. If it's a general public benefit, even if it's on the project price tag, you can't charge specific parcels for it. You have to come up with a way of parceling out those costs between water district people, CSD people, and public benefits. And that didn't happen, to the best of my knowledge. And it's just not the right way to go about it. And the public doesn't have the information to decide whether they support this or don't. They don't know what the costs are going to be. I get why you want to do this, because you minimize oversight and accountability, and you won't be hearing from people every year. There's also this whole situation of water sales that are tied into this, and how do people know whether those water sales will be credited back and reduce the costs of the project? Once you get an entitlement to charge people a certain amount on their property tax rolls, do you think that's ever going to be discounted? I'm skeptical. And what, we have to show up every year and fight about it? It's not in my interest to be saying this, quite frankly, because I'm not a property owner, but I will say that it's just not transparent. It's not the proper process. You haven't done the benefits analysis. You've just divvied up the cost. And some of that cost should not be paid by water district people because benefits are going elsewhere, and those benefits need to be paid for by other people. Talk to LAFCO about it. Come up with a proper process. Do it right. And I really am not saying I'm for or against. I'm just saying go through the right process to do this, and you're not doing that. Thanks.
Thank you. Speaker number 7, David Rosso.
Good afternoon, board members. Essentially, I have, excuse me, 3 questions which I don't expect to be answered today or probably at any time. The first being when these notices were mailed out to ratepayers of the district, there's no mention in here of cost, and I'm wondering why. It talked about a fee that's being transferred to the property tax bill and fees that could be paid by property tax bill, but there's no, it would be, 5 digits, a dollar sign and 4 digits to say what the fee currently is. And what would be even better, if this chart on page 10 of your handout could have been included, and I don't know if this was online. Was it? It was. Well, it's interesting that it shows in 2 years, the cap fee roughly doubles. A year after that, it doubles again, and then presumably is flat. But this basically is showing $54 for fiscal year 27. And by fiscal year 30, in 3 years, it has gone to almost $300. 6 times the rate it's projected for this next fiscal year. Doesn't seem like that has been I don't know what to say, a significant piece of information that's been provided to the public. And the other part of or a different question then, is what is the justification specifically for moving this charge from the water bill to the property tax bill? And I know there's discussion, I think somewhere I saw, that it shouldn't be assessed to renters because it's a long-term capital cost. I don't believe that. Just to put it plain and simple, I think it's the first attempt, as some of the people here have alluded to move some of these water district costs somewhere else where it's going to be a little less visible. You get your property tax bill twice a year. Well, what's $50 this year? The next year, it's, what's it going to be, 103, then 110, then $300. Maybe nobody will notice. I hate to say it, but I perceive this, and I think you folks are making a bit of a mistake by trying to move this around. It's like the old, cups and balls routine. Put it under one cup and, let's move it around, see if we can find a place where people won't know where it is. And I think all that does is make the ratepayers and the citizens a little more skeptical of actions like this that this water board is taking, I presume will take today. Thank you.
Thank you. We got speaker number 8, Gail Pinkham.
I've lived in Carpinteria most of my life on Governor Canyon. I'm a senior, a widow, and I was horrified to get that letter that it could even happen. I don't even know how to assimilate what you're trying to do, and I just want to put my word in as a protest.
Thank you. We got speaker number 9, Gary Blair.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board. My name's Gary Blair, and I too am a Carpinteria property owner for over 40 years. I have submitted written comments for inclusion in tonight's record, which I previously served on each of you last week. They're very detailed and mention many of the points already made by so many of the great speakers tonight. First, tonight's hearing is more than a collection method. The board is being asked to approve a significant change in how a major water utility project will be financed and collected. Once approved, the cap charge becomes a long-term property-related obligation collected with annual property taxes. Second, Proposition 218 was adopted to ensure that property owners receive meaningful notice and a meaningful opportunity to evaluate property-related charges before they are imposed. Whether or not the district has actually technically complied with each procedural requirement, property owners have not yet been provided with one complete and understandable explanation of the long-term obligation being placed on the tax roll. Third, the district has never presented one comprehensive financial picture of CAP. The public has encountered project figures of approximately 20 to 25 million back in the draft EIR, to 32 million in the final EIR, then 75 million and now 90 million. That's over a 300% increase since this project was conceived. Those figures might each be accurate in their own context, but they have never been reconciled into one clear explanation of the total project cost, grants, financing, interest, operating expenses, replacement costs, and the ultimate obligation to customers and property owners. Finally, I oppose moving part of a water utility charge from the district established billing system to the property tax roll. Water bills are intended to be paid by those receiving the water service. Property tax bills are the legal responsibility of property owners. Those are not always the same people. In fact, you're building 3,721 parcels to raise $356,000 each billing cycle. There's a much higher number of people paying water bills in this Carpinteria Valley than 3,700. I'd like to know how many people are actually paying bills. The property owners are being assessed a disproportionate amount of the CAP project cost by limiting it to 3,721 parcels. The district has an established system for billing customers directly. Before abandoning your long-established billing practice, the board should clearly explain why that change better serves the public interest. It should identify the measurable public benefit, explain why direct billing is inadequate, and address the reduced transparency that results when project costs are divided between water bills and property tax bills. More importantly, this establishes a precedent. I heard you earlier mention the sanitary district. If you look at your property tax bills for years, we've been charged enormous costs for sanitation district charges, and they keep going up every year. Future boards may rely upon this decision when financing other utility capital projects through property tax bills rather than direct utility billing. CAP is a water service project, and all of its costs should remain on the water bill. Direct billing keeps the capital and the operating costs together. It preserves the connection between the charge and the service and allows customers to see the project's full financial impact and provides continuing public accountability. The district already has the billing system, the legal authority, the customer records, the rate methodology necessary to collect the capital charge directly. To date, the district has not demonstrated a compelling interest for moving part of the water utility obligation onto the property tax bill. I respectfully request that the board collect all CAP costs through the district's existing water billing system. CAP is a water supply project, and its capital and operating costs belong together on the water bill, where customers can clearly understand the complete cost of the service they receive. Splitting one project between two billing systems reduces transparency. It also separates the charge from the service being provided and creates an unnecessary precedent. Unless the district can demonstrate a clear legal or financial necessity for tax roll collection, direct water billing remains the more transparent, accountable, and appropriate method. Accordingly, I respectfully urge the board to reject placement of the cap charge on the property tax roll and keep these charges within the district's existing water billing system. If the board nevertheless proceeds, property owners should first receive a comprehensive financial accountability summary explaining the project's full cost and its long-term obligations. We just got this notice, I think, 12 days ago about this hearing, and it says that unless a majority of property owners object, you're going to go ahead and adopt this. Well, if there's 3,721 parcels, that means we'd have to collect 1,900 signatures in 12 days, which is, I think, inappropriate. Good public policy deserves good public disclosure. Please keep the water utility charges on the water bill and not on the property tax bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker number 10, Scott Vandekar.
Good evening, Scott Vanderkar. I live in the Shepherd Mesa area. And I would like to first thank the audience for being here. It's really nice to have a community that cares and cares enough to be here. Really, no matter what they say, it's just great to have their input. There's an article in the most recent Coastal View News written by Sharon Eskelson, basically saying what you've heard tonight. Tell the water district that the direct billing is enough, and that's the way to go. I would like to say, because of my experience with the Groundwater Sustainability Agency and that process, because one of the previous speakers indicated that this is something new to be tried as far as putting a cost on the property tax bill. For the groundwater charges, that has been on the property tax bill. And one of the things that became clear early on is people don't look at their property tax bills. They just seem to pay them. And it doesn't seem to be an honest and transparent way to get a cost out there on something that really doesn't have anything to do with water, but there it does show up on the property tax bill. So I support what the speakers have said before me. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Speaker number 11, Sharon Eskelson.
Good evening, everyone. I understand the district's goals for the long-term water reliability. Using our property tax bills as a collection mechanism sets a troubling precedent for local utilities. I object to this billing approach for the following reasons. It bypasses traditional oversight. Moving standard utility project capital costs onto property tax rolls feels like a structural workaround. Tying utility rates to property taxes eliminates the traditional direct oversight, transparency, and public ballot voting that homeowners expect on major, decades-long financial decisions. Existing utility billing infrastructure suffices. The Water District already has a fully functional, robust monthly utility billing system. There's no logical or justifiable reason to circumvent that system and put water plant capital costs to our fixed property tax assessments. Unfair burden distribution. Tying the charge permanently to the property tax rolls disproportionately penalizes long-term property owners. If someone sells their home next year, they are hit with an artificial inflation of their annual tax obligation up front. Rather than paying incrementally for the exact amount of water service they actually consumed over time. Property taxes should not be treated as a blank check for utility infrastructure. Direct utility billing is fair, transparent, and already fully operational. I request that the board respect the community's need for direct financial transparency, reject the tax roll assessment, and keep all cap billing strictly tied to standard monthly utility statements. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Speaker number 12 is Stephen Zick.
Good afternoon, thank you. I just want to say I support all of my Carpinterians, because when I read this 12 days ago, I've lived in Carpinteria for more than 40 years, And I just don't understand how this improves anything for anybody. If everything is kept on the water bill, everybody sees what costs are. Water is an essential part of our environment. And if some of it moves over to the property tax, the people using it will use more water because they say, oh, our water bill didn't go up. And so I find this to be counterproductive. We need to make sure everybody sees what the costs are, and so we can adjust our own water usage to the benefit of our families and the environment. And so I would ask you, I mean, I think back 90 years ago or 100 years ago when my father was heavily involved with Proposition 13. And the whole idea of Proposition 13 is that we, as we get older, need to keep our property tax basically the same so we don't have to leave a community because we can't afford it anymore. If all these charges keep going back on to property tax, what happened to Proposition 13? It's just not functioning. And so we need to think about that, and I hope you will. And I thank everybody here because it's a big thing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lisa, anybody online? Okay, also, how many letters of protest did we receive approximately?
So at the beginning, or actually at the end of this public hearing, we received a total of 16 protests.
And I'm not being sarcastic here. Did you get anybody in support of the?
No.
No, I'm just making sure. So, okay. So we got that covered.
Hello? Hello? You asked if there was anyone online?
Go ahead.
Hi,
Can you identify yourself, please?
Shirley Johnson. Hi there. Yeah, I would just like to say that I'm also in favor of keeping the CAP project on the water bills. And, you know, for the reasons, transparency, precedent, everything. And I remember with the board voting, some of the board members also felt the same way. And I also had a question about, you know, really how billing by meter size shifts the weight of paying for the CAP project between multifamily, smaller users, you know, people in apartments, etc. How that works. And with a third point I had is you mentioned at this meeting that you'd probably try to keep the property tax allocation the same as the sanitary district, maybe. And I know on the sanitary district, they charge exactly the same for a condominium owner as they do for a single family home owner on 2 acres or whatever. You know, they charge the same for both. So, so those are my 3 points, and thank you very much for all you're doing.
Thank you, Shirley. Then I'm going to, if there's nobody else, Lisa, then I'm going to close the public hearing, and we'll have the discussion for the individual board members. Polly, do you want to start off?
Thanks, everybody, for your comments. Just by way of background, I never voted for this. When we voted on it several months ago, I was against it from the very beginning and for putting the whole thing on the water bill. And I said succinctly why. And however, I was outvoted, and there was a different decision made where the board went another way. It doesn't mean that I in any way disagree with my colleagues on any other matters. We all get along fine. We have our own opinions. But in this case, those of you who were not here, it was a very, very heated debate. And that's often missed in people that come here for the first or just second time that don't see these things. So it was a very, very heated debate. I understood both sides. I simply didn't, the entire time that I struggled with this, just didn't see any reason why it should go on, why we should even divide it. And to me, it was even worse dividing it because it was more confusing. So that's not to say that I could not have been swayed, and I tried to be swayed, but by the end of it, I remained consistently behind just putting the whole thing on the bill. That doesn't mean that we absolutely need CAP. Management and staff has done a fantastic job over the past 10 years. Yes, the costs have gone up. Yes, a lot of things have gone up. But we were also put in such a severe and dire situation a few years ago that we knew we had to do something different. So even though I wasn't for putting it on the tax bill, I'm absolutely behind the CAP project. And that is my comment.
Thanks, Polly. Matt?
Doesn't mean Matt and I shook hands after we disagreed. Matt and I shook hands after we disagreed.
If you don't mind, I'm going to turn my mic off. No.
We shook hands after we disagreed.
Well, I was supportive in putting it on the tax bill, and I'll explain why. First of all, this isn't a direct water production to tap project. This is something that we create very highly refined, highly filtered water, and we inject it back in the groundwater basin. And that has broad-ranging community benefits that are enduring. Unlike if we buy water on the open market or we get an allocation from the lake that goes right from that source through the treatment plants to your tap, all those expenses seem to make sense to me to be on your water bill. This, however, runs with the land. We might pump water into that groundwater basin that will be there for years before it's drawn out. It benefits the community at a broad level. And because of that, and I have some notes here, I supported the idea. I was actually in support back when state water went in to put it on the tax bill. And could you imagine if all those state water charges you saw in your water bill came on your property tax bills, how many of you would have deducted it as an income tax deduction? Something that you cannot do with your water bills unless, of course, you're a landlord or a tenant. If you're a single-family homeowner, subject to tax provisions, this broad range benefit may be tax deductible, subject to state and local tax limits that change occasionally. But, so that's one reason, is it might be a solid to give people a chance to reduce their costs on this by having it as a tax deduction. That's a possibility. The other reason I want to say that this is not an attack on Prop 13. Prop 13 protects ad valorem charges. And so that's totally different than this special district charge. Somebody said earlier that we're not a government. We actually are a special district. It is a form of government. We have to follow the government code. We are not like Southern California Edison or Southern California Gas, which are not, they're utilities, and they have a lot of protections and a lot of rights provided for them under state law as a utility, as the water district is. But we're also a special district, and we are a form of government. Yes, we have these authorities to do this. I guess the other reason is I don't know why a tenant should come in and pay for this broad-ranging benefit for when they're here for a short-term tenancy. And again, just the overriding philosophy is the benefit rides with the land.
Hey guys, everybody was respectful, so let's keep it that way, okay?
Wow. Okay. Well, anyway, so I do support it, and I do think that it is something. And if you're a landlord, why can't you pass it on to your tenant? So I don't understand that. But you might be, I know as your landlord, you're probably already deducting it. But as a single-family homeowner, you might be able to get that.
Is it deductible?
Well, it can't. I can't give you a yes or no because I'm not a tax advisor.
Ask your accountant on your tax bill.
Yeah, this heckling has got to stop. So anyway, the point being is that it is a community-based benefit like your school charges are. There are other instances when those things on your tax charges do serve as a benefit. I don't see any problem with the transparency. Scott Vanderkar, you said that nobody looks at their property tax bill. I do. I know how much I'm paying the school district. There's 2 bond issues from the school district, and I see exactly what I'm paying, and there's a vector control district charge on there. So I don't agree with that. And I can't imagine a lot of people study their water bill each month either, except maybe to see the units used. But generally, just look at the bottom line and pay it. But it's there. It's not non-transparent.
Guys, hey, you had your chance. No, I'm sorry. You had your chance to speak.
All right,
This is a board discussion.
Okay.
Anything else?
Yeah, just that I will continue to support this action.
Thank you.
And I don't disagree with your comment on the renter either, just so you know that.
Okay. Patrick?
Thank you. I'd like to start out by saying I did support it, and I continue to support it. I'm sympathetic to what we've heard tonight, but I'm not moved. I will say regarding communication, if you look back at all the meetings that we've had, the public sessions that we've had, both in this boardroom and the publicly noticed committee meetings that we've had, all of these issues have been brought up. I didn't hear anything tonight that we didn't debate in one form or another in a public hearing. So, I'm sorry? So, the other message I'd like to bring across is, our president of this board has been very accommodating to open discussion in these board meetings, the prior meetings, and in the committee meetings. That's not required. So I think, the respect that we've given you in listening and not responding, you deserve to give it to the president of this board. So there's an amount of respect that I think that's important. The other element of this, I think, is, I'll just echo what a number of Board Member Roberts' points. This isn't just about water supply. It's about the reliability of the water supply and also the effect of groundwater incursion. Water injection is a critical part of maintaining a long-term stability of the water, and this is a really meaningful step to establish injecting water into the ground. So again, I think simplifying this into the notion of just providing water through the water bill is been thoroughly debated and had opportunity for all this discussion to occur, and we've made a board decision in the face of all those comments. I agree with the comment about Prop 13. We've followed all of the legal requirements, and to suggest that we haven't, and to suggest that there's some sort of impropriety, I resent that. I'm a fairly new board member, but I didn't come up to volunteer to do this work and then be accused of some sort of impropriety. I really struggle with that. I look at my tax bill. I look at my water bill. I don't understand the transparency issue at all. And putting it onto the water bill wouldn't make it any less or more transparent. There's no line item detail. That comes out in discussions that we have in this room. So again, I appreciate everybody's comments. I'm sympathetic to your concerns. We've discussed it. I continue to support it, and I will continue. Thanks.
Thank you. Casey?
So thank you all for coming out. We all appreciate it. Your input is invaluable. That's what we're here to hear. So I appreciate your time. As Polly hinted to, this was a big discussion about a year ago or so. It was the most split I think we've ever been. I didn't support it then. I don't support it now for many of the reasons you stated. But I'll keep it short.
Thank you. Actually, I'll finish my comment. There's one more request, and I'll open the hearing for that, just for transparency. But the reason I support putting the capital piece on the property tax bill, because it's truly a 50-year investment in your property, number one. Number two, and probably nobody's aware of this, but during COVID, this board was able to, or with staff, was able to refinance our bonds because at the time money was cheap. And the reason we were able to do that, because this district has a solid bond rating. Having it on the property tax bill keep that bond rating very strong, and it's everybody's best interest. Whether you pay 6% or 2%, it's a big deal. So that's my reason for supporting the CAP project, keeping the capital part on the property tax bill and keep the operating part on the water bill. And we'll leave it at that. I'll let the one person, I'll open, sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted to say one more thing. So I in addition to what Casey said, as I said before, and I reiterate it tonight with all of you, I tried so hard the entire time to get there, because we often do that. We listen and listen and listen, and you'd be surprised how much we change our mind after we get more facts. And I wholeheartedly have the utmost respect for everybody here and all the comments that were made. And so a year ago, they all know that I tried so hard to be swayed, as is often the case. And I just couldn't that time. That doesn't mean I don't have respect for everybody up here and all the hard work that we do every day. Thank you.
Thanks, Polly. So I'd like to open up the public hearing again for Emma Schumann. She's online.
Hi, yes. So thank you so much for all the information. You touched on what I was going to say, or what I am going to say. But so by pumping the purified water back in the aquifer, this would reduce the reliance on imported water. So to eventually improve the local water supply and drought resilience. Is there a way to quantify the expected savings after 2030 for the property tax bill or the water bill? Or would there not be savings after?
You know, I suppose.
Did that make sense?
Evaluate our need for state water, maybe, but that's really conjectural.
I agree.
Yeah, we understand your question. I think we're waiting to.
Yeah. You want to answer that, or?
Could you clarify what you mean by savings?
So from my understanding, it was up until 2030, there was an increase in the cost for the cap purification, and then eventually this is going to pump water back in to Carpinteria aquifer, so that in the event of a drought, there is not as much need per se to import water from another supply. So would then long term, would this, by having a better local water supply, would this end up saving money?
$2,000.
And
We probably will do
that makes
Yes, that's a good question. So this project will provide about 1,000 acre feet per year of new water supply. That's about 25% of our total demand. After the project is operational and we've confirmed it's working, successfully, and also, we're also working on a intertie with Casitas right now, which is a bidirectional pipeline that will increase reliability for the district as well. I think once those two projects are completed and operational, we would reassess our water supply portfolio if there is, potentially state water that we wouldn't need going forward after those projects are completed. But right now, we still need that, we're not there yet, but that could be something we look at in the long term.
I might be able to add something to help also, is that, when we were in the worst part of the drought and our lake allocation was down to 0 and our state water allocation was 5%, and our groundwater was being, the levels were dropping, we were buying water. The state water project is about the pipeline. It's about access to other water besides state water. State project water is one form, but we were buying water on the spot market at whatever we could get it. And the price goes up when it's scarce. So at the drought, I'm not sure what we paid. I can't remember, but if it might have been as much as $2,000 an acre foot for emergency supplies. And we had a drought surcharge on your bill, in part to fund that. With this project up and running, I doubt we'd be in a position where we'd ever need to buy the most expensive, scarce water that occurs during a drought, and that would be a savings. But I agree with what you said, Kelly, that once this is up and running and we have a chance to reassess all of our, which will now be 4 sources of water, is there a place where we can cut back on one of the sources that has a tangible savings? And we haven't done that analysis yet, so.
Actually, this is not standard. I have a request from David Rosso to speak again. Since the public hearing is open, I'll just allow David to speak, but that's it. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity to speak again as you reopen public hearing. I think the discussion I've heard from the board certainly has much to say for the technical reasons for the CAP project. I don't think anyone here today has argued against that per se, nor have they really specifically, including myself, argued that, maybe a few people say, gee, the cost has gone up, and I understand it has gone up a lot. But, the basic notion, the rationale for the CAP project, I think most people understand we need to look ahead, look forward.
But the question people have here today is why is that charge being moved to the property tax bill? And I have not heard, maybe my doctor tells me I'm going to need a hearing aid in another couple of years, but I have not heard a good reason. And like I said before, the fact that this is being moved around like the old cups and balls routine, that's why people are skeptical of the actions of boards like yourself, whether you're a public agency or a quasi-public agency. Transparency is to say, yes, we want to move it because, I don't know, you don't want renters to have to pay the long-term cost. And to me, that's a little flaky to put it in plain language. But still, with all this discussion, I don't know if anyone here has seen their question answered as to why the fee is being moved, this one fee, to the property tax bill. What about, you might as well just move other fees. I think one person asked, well, is this going to open it up? Well, yes, you will have to have a public process, you'll have to have a public hearing and so forth. But there's lots of things that could be moved or could have been moved in the past. Why haven't those been moved? Why this one in particular? And I think whatever rationale you come up with, it's still going to sort of, not even sure that I don't want to embarrass myself or anyone else here, but it just doesn't smell good. I think that's the point for today. Thank you.
Thank you. And now I'm closing the hearing, and there's no more comment. You know what? Go for it.
I would have liked you to at least entertain the thought of the benefits analysis, because $59 million of this project cost is in the hands of another district. So your ratepayers are paying $59 billion for infrastructure in the sanitary district, and there's vulnerabilities to that infrastructure. And, if you set the system up right now, you'll protect your ratepayers in the future. And since you're not doing that benefits analysis, all the liabilities that might come in the future, sanitary districts in the near shore coastal areas are having to come up with contingency plans for like relocation or how to handle the dangers of sea level rise and floodwaters with the climate change. And so we're in a situation where we're putting all our eggs in one basket. We're not spreading out the cost in a correct way. And we're providing benefits in a way that you have delegated oversight because, you don't own the infrastructure. $59 million of the project, the majority of the project is somewhere else that you don't control. And you're asking your ratepayers to pay for it, and you haven't told us your formula for why that's a fair way to do it. That's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you.
I can respond to that a little bit.
Matt, fair.
Giddy, what you're saying is not exactly true. The project went through we got government loans like this revolving fund loan for $50 million. We had to go through a vetting process, a risk analysis. The project itself went through Title 24 codes, which means it's going to be in fact, some of the costs that added up to the $90 million included significant structural enhancements to make it so it's survivable. There's even flood wall improvements. So there was a lot of risk analysis. Unfortunately, at the bottom of the hill is where sanitary district plants always are, so we're kind of stuck with that location. The other thing is that the water district and the sanitary district have entered into two agreements that define all sorts of how risk is handled and how disruption of service is handled. And so those have been vetted for the longest of time to define the relationship well. And finally, there's a standing committee that will be formed where sanitary district and water district will meet and approve and discuss the operations and budgets and whatnot, of which 3 members, the majority are water district board members. there's provisions in the agreement that suggest they will, provided that if new regulations that deal with sanitary district protocols are put in place, that they would then find a benefit from this project being in place, then they have, we have an open door to ask them to share the cost. As regulations become more strict, we foresaw that perhaps the sanitary district might avoid additional costs because this project is considered to be environmentally superior to existing conditions for the ocean and the water district and the groundwater basin. And we foresaw that, and so we have provisions that say, should that occur, we revisit the cost allocations to each agency.
Thanks, Abed. Guys, this public piece is closed. Paul, is there anything else you want to add? You do it now.
No.
Patrick, Casey? I'd like to add one more thing then, that on an annual basis, management and this board, we review all our water supply sources. And in the big picture, and by the way, I lived here for 60 years, so I went through several droughts and several floods, so I have a pretty good idea of what Carpinteria is all about. But the bottom line is that as we discuss, our sources every year, right now, like Kelly said, we have the CAP project, we have the GSA we're finalizing or implementing, and we have the intertie with Casitas, which gives us new opportunities that we never had before. And to be able to say, and I'm not going to say this as fact, but the five of us and management are already discussing as we review our water supply sources every year, which ones we're going to expand and which ones we're going to phase out, and possibly we might be phasing out state water, but we need to make sure we got all the facts before we do that. And just for everybody in the audience, and again, I was here when state water was voted in. A lot of people were against it. Some people were for it. But right now, our fixed cost on state water is $3.5 million a year. So when the state cut us off, we still paid the $3.5 million. So this board is very well aware of where our costs are, and we are committed to using our groundwater basis as the most reliable and lowest cost of water source available to Carpinteria. We're just lucky we have a really good water basin, so we're going to manage that, and that's where we're going to save all of us money. I'm done. Patrick, you done? Okay, then, since the meeting is closed, I'd like to have a motion for or against.
All right, I'll move to adopt Resolution 1184 as read by title only.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Roll call, please, Lisa.
Director O'Connor?
Aye.
Director Holcomb?
Regrettably, no.
Director Balch?
Nay.
Director Roberts?
Aye.
Director Van Wingerden?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-2.
Thank you. Then we adjourn to the regular board meeting of the Carpinteria Groundwater Sustainability Agency. Guys, quiet, please. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Item number 2, Kelly, agenda confirmation.
No changes to the agenda.
Thank you. Sorry? Yeah, I know. I need to learn to slow down. Hey, this was good. I'm glad people showed up, guys. Okay, and then we got item number 3, public forum. Any person may address the board of directors on any matter within his jurisdiction which is not on the agenda.
Yeah, no, it's just.
Anybody?
Could we please acknowledge the meeting that's still occurring?
Hey, everybody in the audience, can we keep it down, please? Be respectful for each other. Then we got item number 4, the consent agenda. Scott, which item do you want to talk about?
The annual vendor report.
Okay, so the way I like to do that, since it's a consent agenda, I'm going to go with item number 4A. Is there any questions from the board? Then we got item 4B, disbursement report for the year June 11, 2026 to July 10, 2026. And then we got item number C, annual vendor report. Scott, if you got a question, you're welcome to speak up.
Scott Vanderkar, Shepherd Mesa area. And by the way, Case, I've got the original letter from the Water District encouraging us to vote for state water, if you ever want to see it.
I wasn't on the board then.
No, it wasn't your fault. And the reason I wanted to speak to this topic is because on that vendor report, it has private parties, customers listed. And I am suspecting that is because there were appeals made by customers and that refunds, or at least on some of those, maybe refunds are going out. And I bring that up to point out that there is an appeal process and it does work, and that the GSA does look at those appeals and consider them. But am I right in that understanding of why there would be individual customers rather than your typical vendors on the vendor list?
I'm going to have Norma answer that question, please.
Yes, that's correct. I can't speak to specifically which ones they are, but yes, they would show up here if there was an appeals refund, then yes, it would be on this list.
Okay, so just that idea of the system works if it's used.
Right, the people that don't have a well, they should ask for a rebate. So it's just-
In the groundwater basin.
Right. In the ground.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Item number 4D, Director Quarterly Compensation Report. Any questions? If not, can we have a motion, please?
Polly makes motion to pass the consent agenda.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? A roll call, please.
Director O'Connor?
Aye.
Director Holcomb?
Yes.
Director Balch?
Aye.
Director Roberts?
Aye.
Director Van Wingerden?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Item number 5A, authorize a fiscal year 2026-2027 on-call contract with Two Trumpets Communication in an amount not to exceed $20,000 for GSA Public Communication Services for action. Kelly?
Yes, thank you, directors. The Two Trumpets is a local communications firm. They've been supporting the GSA on the well registration metering policy implementation. We do have additional need for support on communications and outreach. We've had some changes in staffing at the district and currently have a vacant position for the public communications coordinator. And so the proposal is to step in and assist with some of the work on keeping the website maintained, doing ad design, newsletters, and basically, with an on-call services contract, it's I'm able to manage their work based on what's coming up, and it's sort of as needed, and they'll just be working basically as an extension of staff until we can fill the position. So,
thank you.
So Kelly, I'm so glad you said that, because normally with a lot of these marketing things and the PR contracts that we have, there's not a lot of specifics, and there's not a lot of concrete metrics on exactly what they're going to do. But you've said it perfectly. It's to fill a vacancy. And you'll be overseeing them.
Correct.
Okay. Did I read it? It's a year. Is that?
It would be an on-call services for a year, but it may not. We may not expend all the funds throughout the year. Overall, there would be no budget impact to the GSA.
Right.
Since it is a vacant position, we will not be charging the allocated staffing costs to the GSA from the district. And so those funds would then be used for the budget on this contract. And so there's no net change to the GSA budget for this.
Okay, because I was going to suggest some metrics, but you're already on top of that, and you know what you need from that anyway. So, okay, thank you.
I don't know how to do WordPress, which is the website format that's programming the website. So anytime we have information to post, I would need support on that.
Sure,
So-
but the point is that you're going to be hands-on with these guys, and that's all I needed to know. Thank you.
Yes, correct.
Can we, and again, Kelly is looking to replace the person. Yeah. Can we have a motion, please?
Polly makes a motion to support the on-call contract with Two Trumpets Communications in the amount not to exceed $20,000.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Roll call, please, Lisa.
Director O'Connor?
Aye.
Director Holcomb?
Yes.
Director Balch?
Aye.
Director Roberts?
Aye.
Director Van Wigerden?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Then we got item number 5B, update on well registration and metering policy for information, Kelly.
Yes, so we've been making lots of progress. There's still more work to be done, but just I like to give a reminder on the goals of the policy, which is long-term sustainability required under the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act. The metering policy goals specifically are to improve water management, ensure equitable cost distribution, since we do charge fees based on estimated pumping. This will give us more, having meters on all the wells gives us more accurate data on what actual pumping is. And then something that is, I think, pretty forward-thinking by the Carpinteria GSA that probably no other GSAs are doing is the advanced metering infrastructure to have real-time groundwater monitoring data. So a lot of other GSAs have a metering policy, but AMI is what sort of puts us ahead of the pack in terms of being progressive with the technology that's available. So this policy was adopted August 13th, 2025, and then was later revised. During implementation, we saw that there was a need for some revisions, which occurred on March 11th. And March 31st was the original deadline for well registration and flow meter registration. The board did approve giving more time and waiving any penalties for noncompliance until after August 31st. In order to meet that deadline, we're telling property owners they should have their meters installed as soon as possible, but no later than July 31st. So we do need to do some work on our end on installing endpoints for the communication between the well and our data management system. So we've done significant outreach starting, January through March was pretty significant outreach given the March 31st original deadline. We've done direct mailers, Coastal View press releases, advertisements, articles in the California Avocado Society, weekly newsline, social media, and we held 2 well registration events in March. May was continued press releases, advertisements, and we also set up a booth at the farmers market. And then in June, we did targeted direct mailers to the remaining properties that have estimated pumping but had not yet started the process. So about 160 letters went out in June. And then we have in July another well registration assistance event this Thursday, and we put ads in the Coastal View News for 2 weeks in a row for that. There's still room available. We're starting to see that a lot of people have started the process, and we're still working through some of the paperwork that needs to be done for the people who've started the process. But new people are still trickling in, but I think we've kind of reached the point where now this relevant registration assistance event isn't seeing as much interest as the last couple that we had. Here's where we are for implementation. So 185 wells have submitted paperwork. That's about 49%. Of that amount, 70 have completed the paperwork, and so we'll be continuing to work with people on, any missing pieces to finish that process. we have 13 endpoints installed at wells, and half are working correctly. We're still troubleshooting some of the other issues with. One of the things that we've seen is, there was a very long list of approved meters for the GSA. I think that was to allow flexibility on, whichever meter people wanted to choose and maybe have flexibility on cost. But each one has different programming with different units that are read by the meter. So we're having to go through and try and align that with our accounting and our beacon system. So it's taking a little bit of time, but we'll get there. It's the first time we've gone through this process, and just takes time to work through some of the issues. So we have, I guess, just the chart below. This is the wells that have started the paperwork process. Of the 185, 96 are active meters, 38 are abandoned and exempt from requiring a flow meter, 32 were inactive and also flow meter exempt. A few have been lost, where we had at some point had a record of the well on the property, but it's no longer can be found. So they've had to sign an affidavit. It's not being used. We've had a few de minimis flow meter exempt wells, and then the rest are district and CGSA wells. I did want to mention there is this County of Santa Barbara has a well metering assistance program, which offers up to a $500 rebate for the cost of a new meter. And we've had, the last I heard, there were 10 people who applied for it, and all 10 got approved. So that was good news, and I would encourage people to look into that as well for assistance. It's up to $500. And that's the end of my presentation.
Thanks, Kelly. Any questions?
Case and everybody, all the growers here, I know I've asked this question, and I think the answer is no. Is there a farming association, or is there a Carpinteria Farming Association or a Carpinteria farming group where you all get together?
Well, there used to be a flower growers association, which was actually at one point probably 50, 60 members, but since the cut flower industry is no longer viable.
Yeah, no, sure. So that's why instead of saying flower growers, I was thinking farmers, because I wish that we could go to a Carpinteria farming meeting. And I know I've asked that, Scott, and you've said, yeah, it's just surprising as a non-farmer to hear that y'all don't have one umbrella.
Scott?
But there isn't.
Suggestions?
Okay. Thank you.
No, but it's worth, again, the part that, and I'm just as guilty as everybody else, we send out all these notices, we put a lot of effort into making sure we follow all the guidelines, and then nobody reads the.
There is
and if staff could go to, we're having a meeting next month at the Lions Club of the whatever, where all of, or the majority of you were represented.
You mean like free meal and free drinks?
Just whatever, but you don't gather as one entity is the answer to my question. I just kind of assumed you did.
There is a Farm Bureau, Santa Barbara County Farm Bureau, and they do put out a weekly newspaper called Ag Alert. And I see, Carpinteria-centric ads in there. I don't know if we ever looked into that, but if you're trying to get the stragglers in, that's another way to.
Okay, so that's kind of what I mean,
Yeah.
This would be on a county level, where I just assumed it was the Carpinteria Valley level. So
yeah,
that's a good tip.
We can look into that, definitely. And, I think for August, staff is mostly trying to wrap up with the people who've started the process and get those endpoints installed. But I'll come back, in September is when I'll have the grand tally of, where we're really at as of that. September 1st was when we were considering, penalties for anyone who hasn't complied would be charged based on the highest crop factor of their estimated pumping. So September is when I'll come back to the board and discuss that and what kind of additional if you want me to send a letter to those who have not completed the process at that point, or if, I think we can just assess where we're at. Like I said, there's lots of people still in process, and so I want to make sure that we work with those people and get as many people on track with that goal that we can.
Anyone else? Go ahead.
I just had the endpoint installations. I noticed we're like, 13 or something, pretty low. Is that a staff process?
It does require staff time, yes. So our staff goes out and installs it.
Yeah, so, do you have the capacity or capability to catch up with all the wells that get registered in a short duration of time to put those endpoints on?
We're going to certainly try. Our plan was in August to really focus on that.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and also I just want to mention that the workshops where you have the one-on-one appointments with the well owners and Danielle were, extremely helpful. Anybody that wants to do it right, the tools are there. You got to show up. But it's my understanding that was, make the appointment, and it's very, very straightforward. So it is.
Exactly, yeah. Even though we have that well registration assistance event July 23rd, people are welcome to call anytime and make an appointment. And Danielle makes her, she's very good about scheduling a time and going through all the papers.
Thank you.
Case, if I may.
Go for it. This is all open to the public. So go.
And July 23rd is tomorrow.
Yeah.
Matt's idea about Farm Bureau is a good one, but also, as you might expect, the women are the most organized in the valley, and California Women in Agriculture might be a good way to actually get something done.
You mean they'll make their husband get to do it?
Well, actually, they're very capable themselves. They won't even go there, Case.
Thank you. Actually, I think both of them, the CWA and Ag Alert, yeah. So, okay, thank you. Then we got item number 6, Executive Director Report, Financial Report.
Yes, your statement of revenues expenses is on packet page 11, and it's through May. So through May, we've received about 95% of the GSA revenues. We do expect to see some trickling in. Any late property tax payments will trickle in. Overall expenditures are at 77% through May.
Any questions? Thank you, Noah. Then we move on to a closed session item. Conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation pursuant to paragraph 2 of the subdivision D of Government Code Section 54956.9, based on facts and circumstances described in paragraph 1 of the subdivision E of Government Code Section 54956.9, one or more potential cases. So we're going to go in closed session.
Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
We're back in open session. Direction was given to council and to the general manager on this situation, and then we're adjourned. Sorry. Then number 7, we adjourn to the regular board meeting of the, number 8, we reconvene to the regular district board meeting. Number 9, new business. 9A, authorize fiscal year 2026-2027 on-call contract with Water Systems Consulting in the amount not to exceed $20,000 for CAP Public Communication Services for Action. Kelly?
Yes, so this is also something I'm requesting, given the vacancy that we currently have for the Public Communications Coordinator. WSC has been assisting us on CAP outreach in various ways. They've assisted with the door hangers, posters, information on the website. It's the firm that's actually our construction program manager. So within their firm, the outreach person is, very connected with what's happening on the project. And they were also the firm that organized our groundbreaking ceremony. So they're very familiar with the CAP project, and I'm requesting an on-call services contract where they're continuing to assist with updating the website, sending out newsletters, and also email blasts regarding CAP updates. Specifically, and they'll again act as an extension of staff and be taking. It's really at my direction, what kind of outreach we need upcoming.
Okay.
I got a question. So I understand and appreciate the opening that we now have for that internal director of communications, but I guess I'm surprised that with a roughly $5 million contract with WSC for construction management, there's no public outreach arm of that, or we need more than what we have?
Yes, there was, although most of that budget has been expended because we've completed some of that initial outreach with the, the creation of the door hangers and the postcards that went out and the organizing of the groundbreaking. So that outreach budget specifically has already been mostly expended and didn't cover some of the other requests that I have for keeping the website up to date.
So going forward, if we have an opening, I assume there'll be a need for them to continue in that role for the duration of the project?
Yes. Well, I'm hoping to fill the position not before the duration of the project.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it seems like, and my memory's probably fuzzy, but it seems like we kind of get these pings from WSC on outreach support every so often, and I guess I'm surprised that it wasn't included in the design. I mean, I understand this is some additional work because of the vacancy, but yeah, it seems like we keep getting hit for it. And then is this going to be pulled from CAP funds, or how's that going to be?
It would be funded through the CAP fund, correct, under the professional services line item. So we will charge it towards the CAP fund.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion, or any more questions? Can we have a motion, please?
Polly makes a motion to support the on-call contract with Water Systems Consulting in an amount not to exceed $20,000 for CAP Public Communication Services.
I'll second that.
We got a motion this second. Any more discussion, and roll call, please?
Director O'Connor?
Aye.
Director Holcomb?
Yes.
Director Balch?
Aye.
Director Roberts?
Aye.
Director Van Wingerden?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
And we got item number 10, director reports. 10A, Rate and Budget Committee meeting, July 21st, 2026. Patrick and Matt, please.
Well, we mostly just reviewed what we did tonight over how the property tax bills would be apportioned, especially went over those who are not billable on the tax bill and how that was handled direct mail. So kind of seen the presentation we considered already tonight.
Okay.
Nothing more to add.
Thank you. And then we got item number 10B, CCWA regular meeting, June 25, 2026. Patrick?
Yeah, I did attend on behalf of Casey, and the agenda was abbreviated significantly because there was only about a 25-minute window that we had a quorum. So one of the members had to leave, and there were others absent. So there were 4 items discussed. All were approved unanimously, and the balance of the agenda was deferred to the following meeting. I can go through those items, but they were basically legal obligations with time-sensitive issues.
No? We're good. Thank you, Patrick. And then we got item number 11, General Manager's Report. What I would like to do is take one item at a time, and then either Kelly, if she wants to discuss anything, or any of the directors have a question, and then we can just move along on those items. So on 11A, Kelly, is there anything else you want to discuss on 11A?
I just wanted to I did attend the CCWA Operating Committee meeting, and most of the items were informational. I didn't see some of them on the agenda for tomorrow, but I did want to just, at some point, the board's going to have to make some decisions at CCWA. So I just wanted to kind of brief you on what was discussed there. The new executive director has been very active with, looking for opportunities for water management, which is wonderful. I think he's just trying to get a sense of what everyone's needs are. So he brought forward 3 opportunities just to gauge level of interest for short-term water transfers. He also has an agency that had an interesting proposal that I've actually never seen before, where you sell water when the state water allocation is high. Then when it's a mid-level allocation, it would be an unbalanced exchange into a groundwater bank. And then when it's a low allocation, 35% or less, you get your water delivered. And that was kind of I thought that was an interesting proposal. Not a lot of information available on it yet. He just wanted to see if that was worth getting more information about and pursuing. And then the third one was a lease agreement, which was a take-or-pay lease of 4,000 acre feet, and you'd pay $2,000 an acre foot for that water, and it's a 5 to 10 year term. But essentially, everyone was just kind of listening. I think there's going to be a survey coming out from CCWA on what our needs are. At this point, we just went through the sale of surplus water for this year. So our short-term needs, we don't really need to purchase water, and we also don't need to sell water for this next upcoming year. But I did express that going forward in future years, to come back, and some of these things might be worth exploring in future years. The next item was the Willow Springs Water Bank Memorandum of Interest. The committee's recommendation was to put that through the water management programs process rather than treating it separately. It is a proposed development of a groundwater bank that doesn't currently exist. And so there was a question of, should we be at the table? Is there any interest in participating in those discussions as the groundwater bank is developed? It's near Antelope Valley, East Kern, but it's a different agency. And it's actually, the investors in the water bank are CalPERS. So I don't know much more about it than that. I will say it's an external groundwater bank, and it's downstream of our turnout. So I have a little bit of concerns that operationally, when we need water, I'd rather have it be upstream of the turnout so that we can get the water. I'm just kind of want to be careful about what we would commit to, depending on the location of external
I think we've done
groundwater
that
banks.
before. We just get an exchange.
But if there's an allocation, right? So, yeah. So anyway, that's all I have on that. I think there'll be more to come. he's looking at forming an ad hoc committee of the operating committee to look at streamlining our water management procedures. So that'll be something to track. And then we have, during our annual Coastal Branch maintenance outage, there is going to be a project that CCWA is proposing. They've been having nitrification issues, so they would like to do a free chlorine burn, which is something they used to do and then stopped doing, but thought it would be worth doing again because of the nitrification. It was going to require 190 acre feet of water to do that, and so they were, trying to figure out who was willing to volunteer their water to do that, and we were able to find a resolution where Goleta Water District was going to work with La Cumbre, so it's water that would otherwise been delivered to La Cumbre, so no net water supply impact. No, and ultimately no impact to Carpinteria Valley Water District, so that was a good outcome. And then the last thing was the state water contractors update. There was some discussion about potentially inviting someone from DWR or the state water contractors to give a presentation on some of the major issues related to golden mussels, subsidence. And we suggested probably the board meeting would be a good place for them to come and present. Obviously, the operating committee would love to have a guest speaker, but we can always attend the board meeting too. So that's all I have for my update on the operating committee.
Thank you, Kelly. And then on item number 11B, if there's any questions, I'd like to move on. Same as 11C, if there's no questions, I'd like to move on. Then 11D, if there's no questions, I'd like to move on. And then 11E, if there's no questions, I'd like to move on also. So we're good. Then we got item number 12, closed session. Closed session item number A, public employment pursuant to Government Code Section 54957, title Legal Counsel for CAP Construction Matters. 12B, closed session item, conference with labor negotiated pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6, agency designated representative general manager, unrepresented employee, legal counsel for CAP construction matters. Then we got 12C, closed session item, public employment pursuant to Government Code Section 54957, title Operations and Maintenance Manager. 12D, closed session item, conference with labor negotiating pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6, agency designated representative general manager, unrepresented employee operations and maintenance manager. Then we got 12E, closed session item, conference involving a joint powers agency pursuant to paragraph 1 of the subdivision A of Government Code Section 54956.96, Consumer Operations and Maintenance Board. Discussion will concern conference with legal counsel, Government Code Section 54956.9D2, potential litigation, potential exposure, name of local agency representative on Joint Powers Agency Board, Patrick O'Connor. Then we're in closed session.
Recording in progress.
We're back in open session on item number 12A, no reportable action. Item 12B, no reportable action. Item 12C, no reportable action. Item 12D, no reportable action. And item 12E, no reportable action. Then item 14, consider dates and items for the agenda for the Carpinteria Valley Water District Board meeting of August 12, 2026, 5:30 p.m., Carpinteria City Hall, 5775 Carpinteria Avenue, Carpinteria, California, and we are adjourned.